Hey everyone! Today we're cooking up an easy but tasty home-cooked meal. Starting off with a no-knead bread, my all-time favorite ratatouille, and finishing it up with a vegan raw chocolate pudding. Follow along with me and I'll show you, just like Remy and Gusto would say, anyone can cook. Hi guys, so today we're going to be making a really delicious no-knead bread. Let's get started. I have 3 1/4 cups of flour here. I'm going to add it to my bowl. And then I also have 1 teaspoon of sugar, 1 7-gram little sachet, one of those store-bought sachets of yeast, instant yeast, and then just a pinch of salt. And then I'm going to pour in 1 1/2 cups of boiling water. I just did it from the tap, just got it really scalding hot. I'm going to add that in and then mix everything up. So I came across this peak of the pandemic back in 2020 where I got everyone was into the whole like making sourdough thing. And I just got a little annoyed with making sourdough starter, which is the whole flour water concept, and you let it rise and then you feed it, and it was just too much for me. So I ended up coming across a recipe called a no-knead bread, and it actually ended up tasting and looking like sourdough, but it's like 1/4 of the amount of time that you usually do. I'm gonna go ahead and cover it. Okay, good night. You do your little magic. All right, guys, so the bread has now doubled in size overnight, and we're gonna go ahead and throw it onto the floured surface. In the oven, I have my Dutch oven heated at 450. I've left it in there for a few minutes just to get the pot hot. Yummy. Ooh. Look at all the bubbles. All right. Get a spatula and not make this a complete disaster. Sprinkle a little bit more on top because it is a little wet. Oh, a little too wet. All right, that'll do. So I have a piece of Reynolds parchment here. I'm gonna go ahead and throw the dough on top of it. And then just going to flour the top. And then I'm going to lightly score it. Gonna go ahead and grab the Dutch oven from the oven. Take the lid off. It's getting hot up in here. I'm gonna go ahead and throw this in the oven now for about 30 minutes with the lid on, and then I will take the lid off for a further 20 minutes. Just take a moment and pray to all the bread gods up there that it'll go great. Hi guys, so today we're going to be cooking one of my friend Hannah's treasured recipes. It's one of my all-time favorite and my favorite movie of all time, Ratatouille. Which first we're going to start making the sauce. I'm going to finely chop up 1 onion. outer layer off. I need my little Ratatouille music.
Too bad you're not wearing a hat.
I know, right? I mean, I'm glad I'm not. Those are my number one things that I absolutely hated when I was at cooking school, because you had to wear a hat, and I was like, God damn it.
You had to wear the big tall hat.
Not the tall hats, we had to wear the short ones.
Oh, because you're not head chef
But
yet.
you're not allowed to, you just can't have your hair, obviously, doesn't matter now, but you just, at school, you can't have the, your hair all up in your business, so you had to like tie your, like, it felt like Marine kind of level, where you had to like fully like put it back and then have your little hat on and everything like that.
Does that include a hairnet?
No to the hairnet, thank God. Alright, I'm gonna score it. Oh, I mean, I scored it too much, but that's fine. So I usually score it 3 times, so it does these ways like that. And then I'm gonna like that, and then I do about like 8 or so times that way, and then all I gotta do is that, and then it finally dices everything.
Do you have any onion frying tips?
The goggles, I highly recommend those goggles. Those, I mean, you look like a dweeb when you wear them, but they do work. All right, I have my saucepan here. I'm gonna go ahead and add some of my favorite olive oil. Gonna add probably about 2 tablespoons. There we go. And then I'm gonna go ahead and saute. I have 1 red bell pepper that I've diced up. And then I also have 1 yellow one that I've diced up. So I have about 4 to 6 cloves here that I've minced up. Throw that in. Throw the onion in. I'm gonna go ahead and give this a mix, and then I'm gonna cook it down for about like 5 to 6 minutes until it has softened. All right, so they've softened very nicely. I'm gonna go ahead and now throw in my 1 whole ounce, 28 ounce can of crushed tomatoes. And then I'm gonna go ahead and add in, I have about 8 to 10 basil leaves. I'm gonna throw those in. Give it a mix, and then I'm gonna let this cook down for about 5 to 10 minutes or so, because you want it to reduce, the sauce to reduce down, and for it to be nice and thick and yummy. My friend Hannah, who's treasured recipes, as she had said in the thing, transfer the sauce to a blender. Some chunks are okay, but I tend to be on the side of blitzing it into submission. You do you. You want it to be the thickness of applesauce. Yes, it's a liquid, but it's pissed about, is what her exact thing is. Email that she sent me with her recipe cracked me up. All right, so the sauce is thickened up really nicely. I'm gonna go ahead and transfer it into my Ninja blender. This could get messy. It's getting hot in here. It's gonna get noisy, so I will not say anything while it is blending. It's like a tomato sauce facial. Okay. So I've done it as like, it's just gonna look very disgusting me doing this, but I've done it as like an applesauce consistency, and it smells amazing. Okay, she actually put okay. You're ready now. Open a French wine and say a prayer to Julia Child and Pixar. You're about to start a project. And then the other thing that I love is like throughout the entire recipe, every so often she'll say, take a sip of wine. Have some more wine. Man, I love you, Hannah. You're so fucking hysterical. All right, so we're gonna get started on slicing. I have my handy dandy mandolin. I've set it at, what is this? An 1/8 of an inch, and I'm gonna go ahead and start slicing. And so that way they all will be the exact same thickness. Nope.
Careful.
We'll get rid of that piece. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get started on the yellow squash. I'm gonna start doing the eggplant. I went ahead and got some Chinese eggplant just because obviously they're the closest in size comparison to the squash, because I try and match to the squash as I can. Obviously, regular eggplants are the size of freaking the world. Now, I'm going to give it a try because, as another note that she had said, which had cracked me up, slice your tomatoes with a sharp knife by hand unless you have a god of a mandolin that can do it. So let's see if I do have a god of a mandolin. A moment of truth. Ha ha! Hannah, in your face! It is saving me so much time. I love this thing so much. Look at that! Yes! Again. Oh. Thank you! Mwah! And then there it is. I'll leave this here and bring everything forward. Go ahead and assemble it. So I have the completed sauce here. I'm gonna go ahead and throw a spoonful of this down to cover the entire base of the dish. I'm gonna go ahead and start assembling them. I'm gonna start with the squash, zucchini, eggplant, tomato, and then just repeat. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and throw that into the dish. Stay. This dish, I don't know why, but it brings me so much joy. Oh my God. There it is. All right, we're gonna go ahead and start making the topping. I have about 2 tablespoons of chopped parsley. I'm gonna throw that into the bowl. I have 2 teaspoons of thyme, because all I got is 10. And then I have about 8 to 10 leaves of basil that I've chopped up. I would say probably about 3 to 4, maybe 5 cloves of garlic. And then 4, in her exact words on the email, 4-ish tablespoons of olive oil. Give it a mix. Probably will add a bit more oil just because I want to be able to evenly cover all of the veggies as best as I can. All right, and then spoon over the top. I have the oven temperature preheating at 375, and I'm going to bake it covered with a piece of parchment for about 40 minutes. All right. And then I went ahead and just got a piece of parchment. Obviously it's not circle, but you get the gist. I'm gonna throw it right on top and then throw it in the oven. All right, it's my world famous vegan raw chocolate pudding time. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. And I've halved a bunch of avocados. I'm going to go ahead and throw them right into this blender. So I came across this recipe when I was working on True Detective season 1 with Woody Harrelson. There was a scene where they were in the restaurant and they were having desserts. And I wanted to make everything that he could have that he was okay with, because he, I don't know if he is still now, but at the time he was vegan raw. I thought of that he had told me that his weakness was chocolate in general. So I was like, ooh, maybe I do like a chocolate mousse of some sort. Mousse pudding kind of thing. And I made it, and it became the hit of the entire show, I feel like. I ended up getting asked by the writer and the director and the actors to make it again, to serve, to give it to them and have it available at the wrap party. And so I made a batch of it for the wrap party. But yeah, it became a huge thing, and now everyone now is constantly like, when are you gonna make it again? I was the food stylist for all 3 of them, actually. And I was the food stylist, and that was my first ever gig. Learned quite a lot, and it was actually really fun, and I like dehydrated stuff and all sorts of stuff, because that whole concept of that show, I had to make like southern dishes be vegan raw so he could eat them. So I was doing meatloafs, I was doing po' boys, I was doing, the list was endless really how much I was doing. So I'm next gonna add about 1/3 cup to 1/2 cup of maple syrup. And then I have about 1/2 cup, a little over 1/2 cup of cocoa powder. I like to use dark. And then I'm also going to add about 2 to 3 teaspoons of vanilla. All right. And then it's blending time. I'm gonna go ahead and blend it, and then probably scrape down the edges, and then keep blending it until it becomes pudding. Will you do me a favor? Will you pass me the remainder of that cocoa powder? I'm gonna add a little bit more. So it's probably gonna be about 1 cup worth of cocoa powder. All right.
It's okay, it's okay.
Didn't break.
Yeah.
Whew. I'm gonna add a little bit more maple syrup. Throw it on into here. And if you like more of a creamier texture, you could totally probably add in maybe like a can of coconut with like heavy whipping cream and whip it up and fold it in if you want. I just personally prefer it this way. The one thing I do love to add to this is I love to add the zest of an orange. It's so good with it. So I'll probably pour it into my glasses, and then I will chill it in the fridge for about 20 to 25 minutes, and then it'll be delicious. We'll catch you guys later in the backyard where we're gonna dig into this delicious meal. Okay, so I got Hannah here, the creator of my delicious treasured recipe. Nom, nom. Did I make you proud? Bye. I love the tomato and then the sweetness of the bell peppers, so good, and then the garlic all of a sudden, and then the really yummy California olive oil, so good. Chocolate pudding. That's really good. The chocolate, the maple syrup, the vanilla, and then that orange. So good. You can see him, right?
Yeah, do you want to scooch him up a little bit? Just so he's like out in the limelight.